Good evening, everybody. So, over at the VI Control Forum, we've been having a discussion about piano VSTIs, sample libraries, and the like. Must be that day of the week, I guess. And one of the libraries that I'd been meaning to take a look at came up. It was the Pearl Concert Grand from Impact Soundworks. And actually, I had an exchange on the announcement thread. I had asked about repedaling support, and at the time, I guess it didn't support it, and the author added support for it, which I thought was pretty cool based on my comment. So I felt I had a bit of an obligation to give it a try at least. I had forgotten about it though, and it just came back up on this thread where we were discussing our favorite VSTs. So I thought I'd take it out for a spin. And I have some initial impressions. I thought I'd share them here. So normally, what I do when I pick up a new piano VST, I don't. I guess I can't really show you my studio, but in my studio, I have an Axiom controller. It's a piece of crap for keybed. I can't play on it worth a damn, but it's useful for just inputting notes. What I have a proper digital piano in my living room, so my computer's all set up, cabling through the wall and whatnot. So I fire up the library and then go to living room and play it. I had the foresight to at least hit record before I did that. And so I recorded my initial farting around with the library, and culled out some of the silly moments and tried to get to the meat of it. There's no MIDI editing or anything like that. It's clammy and it's terrible and it's embarrassing. But there it is. So it might actually better translate to what a new user would experience firing up the library for the first time, at least assuming a new user is a semi-incompetent pianist like I am and not a proper pianist like the demos you'll hear on the website. Okay, so with that introduction in mind, let's take a look. So I just wanted to reload the patch from scratch to show that I'm going from factory defaults. And this is the 24-bit version. So this is the 24-bit samples. And so you can see it like about a gigabyte of memory used. Out of the box, I guess this is what it sounds like. I'll just strike a note so you can hear it. Also, that was a level check, and the levels look okay. One thing that I noticed straight away was the half pedaling was a little bit, I don't know, I couldn't get it to work right. So under the advanced tab, there's a half pedal time knob, and that is defaulted to 6 seconds. And that's essentially when you press the sustain pedal part way to trigger half pedaling, it's basically the decay time or the fade out time for the note. So this isn't, I don't think this is true half pedaling. These aren't half pedal samples. It's simulated by a quicker fade out of the sample. So actually, let me pull up a MIDI log. I think you can see that. Yep. So now if you see me press the sustain pedal, you can see the CC events that are sent to the contact instance. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about half pedaling. Well, let me just show you. So what's that? I've got, I'm hovering somewhere around 40, so that's, considered half pedaling. But clearly the note isn't being held. So now let's press a little bit more. What am I, 63? No. Okay, that's caught, but I don't, well, maybe it's fading out. Let's drop the fade out time to like a second or 2 seconds. Yeah, okay, that's fading out. But, it's... So now I'm around 80 or so, and it's not fading out. So there seems to be a window anyway, where, if the sustain pedal is pressed within that window, you'll catch this, or you'll trigger the half pedal fade out time, and below it you won't trigger sustain at all, and above it you'll just default to the regular sustain, or the natural decay of the sample. And I wasn't able to find a way to tweak that. And my apologies if there is a way. I did RTFM, and of course I skimmed it, granted, but I did RTFM, honest, and I didn't see a way to do that. The other thing, since we're on the subject of half pedaling, is I didn't, there's no transition from a full sustain to a half pedal. So for example, if I strike a note with the sustain fully pressed, and then I pull up on the sustain pedal partly, there's no transition that I could see, unless it's the sweet spot window I need to get into. No, it doesn't seem like it. And now it's just gone. So I couldn't see any way to transition from full pedal to half pedal. And that actually matters in terms of gluing notes together when you have a continuous sustain pedal. Let me zoom in a little bit on my recording that we'll listen to in a bit. So you can see here, this is, sustain fully pressed, and then I release it, and there's a decay, and then as I press it, it comes back up. This is what a continuous sustain pedal will look like. And there's points where I might stop, or I might do a very rapid partial release and then press it again, and so it doesn't actually drop to zero. It might actually dip halfway. And when the note doesn't change in its decay, and it basically sustains according to the natural decay as if the sustain was fully pressed on an analog piano, you'll get a more of a blur effect, or it'll just abruptly cut out, I suppose, if I release the sustain pedal too much. With a proper half pedal transition, it will just relax the note a little bit on the decay, and then it'll help it'll blur it together. It won't completely cut it out, and it won't completely smush it all together with the next note. So it's a nuance, of course, but it's those nuances that we're interested in, right? As we're looking for libraries that translate well to playability and feel. The next thing I noticed is repedaling. So, I mean, the repedaling is half pedaling I could do without, I suppose, but repedaling is key for me. This is kind of along the same lines here when I, release the sustain pedal partly and press it. This is a repedal action that I didn't feel right to me, and the way it's implemented, I understand why it's implemented this way. I just don't think it works. So the way this is implemented is this note catch time, and essentially this controls how long the note will continue to the sample will continue to play out after you release the key. And this is your window of opportunity to hit the sustain pedal and grab the note again. And so it works like this. So if I crank it all the way up to 150 milliseconds and strike it, what I'm going to do is strike a key and release a very staccato. I'll strike the key and just release it. And then I'll try and catch the note by hitting the sustain pedal after I release the key. So that's caught it. And then if I dial it back to like halfway or so, no, didn't quite catch it. Didn't quite catch it. So I don't think I'm quick enough for 80. It's probably going to have to be almost toward the maximum. Caught that. Yeah, maybe around 100 milliseconds. Not quite. So I caught that. So it's probably somewhere around the 100 milliseconds area where I'm actually going to be able to benefit from repedaling. The problem is that if I'm playing a staccato passage, it's not quite staccato anymore. The notes continue to play out. This is the axe you have. It's the cross you have to bear by tweaking this parameter, but it doesn't work like a real piano would. And by contrast, I'll just switch over to Galaxy Piano's Vintage D, which is of the library-based or the sample-based VST is my preference, my favorite. And show you how it works. I'm not sure I've got the volumes exactly level matched, so sorry if it's louder or quieter. So again, here I'll show you the catch, right? I'll just strike a key and try and catch it. So you can hear it. I'll just strike the key without the pedal so you can get a bass line for the reverb. I should have done that, sorry. Now I'll try and catch it with the sustain. You can actually hear that it's ringing out. I'll try it a bit faster. So you can see that the interval between the release and the time that I press the sustain pedal, there's going to be a natural decay of the note because the hammers are coming back down, the dampers are closed, everything is going to quiet the note, and there's going to be a normal decay. It'll be a rapid decay, but the moment I press the sustain and release the dampers again, it'll continue to ring out, and it'll be a rapid decay, but I'll have that window of opportunity to catch it. So there's that difference that I actually felt straight away, that the implementation of repedaling didn't quite feel right to me. And you'll see that, I think, in the recording that I'm going to show a little later. Okay, so I talked about the lack of transition to half pedal. Let me also, just for comparison purposes, show you how that works in Galaxy Vintage D. So with the sustain pedal fully pressed, I'll now strike a note. And now I'll just I'll pull up on the pedal. So you can see that it actually triggered a quicker decay as the pedal was coming up. Let's try that again. You know, it's much more noticeable. Of course, Piano Tech is the king at this kind of thing. I could show you Piano Tech. It's almost unfair, actually, how good it is at this feel, this nuance of playability. I thought it would be a level playing field to compare it with a sample-based VST like Vintage D. The other thing I noticed is playing at PP or PPP, there's a lot of airiness to the samples, that some of them in particular, and there's a pretty bad buildup. And I noticed this playing. I noticed this immediately, actually, because I opened my session with Mozart's Fantasy and got to a point where you'll see in a little bit that there's a repeated. I think I got to the E. Well, obviously that's not gonna. I'm like, why am I not hearing it? Well, that's because I'm still on Vintage D. So let's switch over to Pearl. Okay, let's try that again. So I think you can hear that. If not, you should put headphones on. I should have mentioned, obviously, you should listen to this as if you're going, whatever your normal listening environment or playing environment is. If you play with headphones, you should listen with headphones. If you play with speakers, probably better to listen to this with speakers, so that if you hear or don't hear what I'm pointing out, you'll at least know how that translates to your environment when you try the library. So yeah, there's that airy buildup, and I find that's pretty prevalent on the softer samples. Yeah, that A is pretty bad, and in fact, I noticed that as well. There's a place during the recording where you'll hear me trying to discover what note it is that's bothering me, and I finally find that A. That one's pretty bad. And the other thing you might have heard, and this is a criticism I find really common, or at least I have with a lot of sample libraries, piano sample libraries, is a kind of grittiness, or this almost like a ringing or a noisiness in the middle high frequencies. Sorry, the middle and the middle high ranges, and it almost sounds like MP3 artifacting, and it's not, because 24-bit samples. I'm sure there's been no audio compression in the production here, but I hear it a lot, and in fact, it's the reason I don't use Synthegy's pianos, or at least the Steinway. I find it very distracting, and you can hear that here, this grittiness. Let me play it again. The funny thing is, I only hear it on one of those round robins. It sounds like there's two round robins, and I hear that in the the sort of the higher harmonics. And that'll become a lot more prevalent as well when we get into the recording that I did. So let's dive into that now. Let's jump back. So this is, like I said, a sort of culled session. I removed some of the less productive parts of my session and just showed, I think, what demonstrates some of the problems and some of the pros as well. I mean, this is a lovely sounding library. I don't mean to be all negative. It actually does have a beautiful tone. I just find the samples too noisy, and consequently, I don't know what the suitability for using it in recording. At least for my recordings, which when I'm looking for this kind of sound, I want a very intimate, close piano. So let's jump in. I think I'm starting with the Mozart Fantasy. I can tell here. I'm just going to hit on, what's that, an E, several times, just as I'm experimenting with the sound of that E. So yeah, I think that was one of the first things that I played, and I don't know what you're hearing, but for me, to my ear, that's very unpleasant. The airiness that builds up, I hesitate to use the word artifacting, but to me it sounds like that grittiness in the mid range. And like I said, it sounds to me like MP3 compression. I'm sure YouTube is going to make that worse, but you'll have to take my word for it that it's actually there. I think what am I doing next? Moonlight Sonata. So this is like the first page or so of Moonlight Sonata. We'll just listen to that. By the way, I'll stop if there's anything I think I need to point out. By the way, do you hear that clacking, or is it just me? No, it's definitely in the sample. Oh, that actually reminds me. There was. I'm sorry to. This is somewhat off topic. I should have had this in the opening bit. There's some kind of a bug with the release, with the pedal release, and I don't know if it's because I have a continuous sustain pedal, although this supports half pedaling of a sort, so you'd think that would be tested. Let me show you what happens when I press a few notes and then just release the pedal. There's that chirp right at the end, right when it hits 0. Here, let me show you the MIDI log. Let's try that again. Chirp. Chirp. Yeah, that's a peculiar bug. Hopefully easily fixed. Anyway, let's continue on here. This second melody note didn't ring out like it should. Let's listen to that section. Yeah, it kind of died, didn't it? It's supposed to ring out. I mean, this is one of my favorite moments, actually. My favorite elements of this piece, and the way that the melody rings out. And as a pianist, you try and bring out the melody. But I think it's the this bit of pedaling here that's confounding it. Let's hear what happens as we press on. Yeah, did it again for sure. Let's listen to that piece one more time. It's this section right here. So yeah, this note here, I mean, it's ideally going to sustain all the way through. And by the way, probably worth pointing out, a lot of people, and in fact, I think it might even be marked this way, play Moonlight Sonata with half pedal. I don't, intentionally, because I like the way the melody rings out. To me, that's a very beautiful element of this piece that I try and accentuate. So I play it with full pedal, understanding that, of course, that does blur the notes probably a little bit more than Beethoven intended. Anyway, listen to this piece part one more time. Yeah, so I noticed that while I was playing this, and I think I probably found that slightly distracting. Let's switch over to Vintage D just as a comparison. It's not. I hesitate to do this because the dynamics are all different, right? When my hands pretty quickly adapt to the feel of the different pianos, and they respond slightly differently. So this might be obnoxiously loud or quiet. I'm not sure, but just to forget about that, because of course I would play it differently with Vintage D, but listen to the melody notes. Let's go back a little bit. So hear how the melody is resonating, and that's what I wanted to hear. So I don't hear that with the Pearl. And I think the comparison really shows that the difference is striking. And again, I'm pretty sure the difference is the way I'm pedaling here. In fact, I'm almost positive it is. Even if I crank the note catch time all the way up, let's see if that makes a difference. Sorry, let's back up. Yeah, it didn't quite help there. So I would have to go in and tweak with the CC events here, but that kind of defeats the point. The moment I have to do that, then the piano's not playable anymore. Let's continue. Let's dial this back down to where it was, and let's press on. So just in case that clacking is the pedal noise, let me pull that. I'll just turn it off. Let's try that again. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's move on to something different. What have I got here? This might be Clair de Lune. This piece I haven't played in ages, so it's awfully clammy, and I think I gave up on it partly through. But let's give it a listen. Oh dear me! Did you hear that? That I don't know if it's artifacting. May not be the right word, but to me that's what it sounds like. It is a grit and it is not good to my ears. That clack was probably in my room. Sorry about that. Um, I'm gonna turn off the stage mics just in case the airiness of the room is exacerbating it. And so from this point forward, we're just gonna listen to the close mics. Okay, so apart from the terrible performance, this chord right here stuck out to me. Let's listen to it in context. Actually, this thing. Maybe one of the round robins. Yeah, it stuck out at me again as that sort of gritty, noisy, artifacty kind of sound. Okay, so that was terrible. That was me. That was my performance. I think I was still trying to suss out the dynamics of the piano, so I overstruck that note. Um, it has a lovely tone, though. I mean, again, I really do love the tone of this piano. And I think the problem is actually just the recording quality that disagrees with me. Let's start that piece over. Uh, um, yeah, so the pedal tone is vanishing. Um, my piano just has a sustain pedal, so there's only so much I can do. But I think with Vintage D, this might have caught the note before it fully decayed, and well, I know it does because I've played the Vintage D a lot. It catches the note, the pedal tone before it fully decays, and that resonates through the rest of the higher chords. But with the Pearl Grand, it's vanishing. Even with let's make sure I've got the note catch time as high as it goes and try that again. Funny enough, it didn't seem like it vanished straight away. It just didn't ring out like I expected it should. What's going on there? Like it kind of decays about, I don't know, about here, but that's, clearly. Oh, I wonder if I've triggered that half pedal time. Let's bring this back up and see if bring this back to 6 seconds. Let's give it a try. That's better. That was it. Okay, so I mean, parts of that performance were pretty bad, and I was still trying to feel out the dynamics. I'm not going to slag on the library because of the dynamics. I actually think it's just a matter of tweaking the velocity curve. When I was playing with it, it seemed like there would be a fair bit of flexibility there. So that I just chalk up to performance. What what have I got here? What's next? Okay, so this is a Chopin nocturne. I can't remember if there's anything particularly noteworthy. Let's give it a listen. So yeah, I mean it's in these notes, here there's a kind of brittleness to them, that I don't know if it's a quality of the library or if it's more of that grittiness that I was pointing out earlier. I suspect it's the sampling and the recording and not the piano itself. Um, yeah, not much to say about that. I think it handled that fairly well, actually. Let's. What have I got? What's next? Oh, this is the last page of that same nocturne. There's that moment. Well, there's this crescendo and this just giant swell that I really like to play. I did it terrible justice. I wanted to see how it would respond. So, okay, again, the performance wasn't great. There was something about this part that was unsatisfying to play. I don't know. I don't think it was just about the velocity. I mean, you can see the velocity curves down here. I don't go above about, I don't know, 3/4 or so. So there's some work that I probably need to do on the velocity curve. But it's still, even in spite of that, it didn't resonate as much as I like. And it didn't. And I think part of that is maybe some of the decays were cut short because of the way it's responding to the way I'm repedaling here. That's my guess anyway. It just didn't feel satisfying to play, and that's my favorite part of that piece. I should probably practice it more. All right, what's next? I don't know. This is probably what. Hang on. Okay, so Bach Prelude. Let's see how it. Oh, this is where I discovered that unpalatable airy note, and you'll probably hear toward the end. Yeah, toward the end, I stop and I'm like, okay, let's go find that note. So I'll just let this play out. Okay, I lied, and I'm gonna stop. The it's this A. I'll spoiler alert. It's where is it? I thought it was the A. Maybe I lied. There is an A. That's oh, maybe it is this one. Yes, it probably is this one right here. These A's, and I find these a little bit later. There's probably another sample here somewhere along here, but anyway, somewhere around here, it wasn't the A. listen to the airy buildup. Let's start it again, and then I promise I'm going to shut up until the end. Maybe. So I got bored, and now I'm trying to find that note. There it is. Yeah, that one. Probably, I don't. You probably could just replace the sample, or I don't know if there's a way to skip the round robin. It looks like this isn't a locked library. I'd be able to bypass the sample. The problem is it's not just that one. There's quite a few of them that have some unpalatable buildup in them. Where'd I go next? Just messing around. Sounded okay. What's this? Yanni. Bit of Yanni. Quite sure what happened with that note. It's like I lost control over my touch. What next? I think I was messing around with that. Oh, this was like another Chopin nocturne that I thought, oh, I'm going to start playing this. Muscle memory will kick in, and then muscle memory never kicked in. But you could hear that. Did you hear that kind of muffling again? It's just more of the same, I suppose. But it's. I guess a muffling is probably the best term I could give it. Yeah, this is airy buildup. And then I realized I forgot it. exploring some of the high notes here, and there's something I didn't like, I think. Oh, that note there, yeah. That's C sharp. Something's in it. It's that round robin. Hear it? There it is. It's almost like a, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a spring in the distance. Um, so anyway, that I guess gives you a flavor. I don't know again if you hear what I hear, or if you do hear what I hear, if that even bothers you. It bothered me. Maybe I don't know, overly picky. I'm for me the holy grail is the piano that feels right, that plays the way a real piano plays, or at least damn close to it, close enough that somebody like me isn't going to notice because I'm not exactly a world-renowned pianist, and then has that sound. I mean, piano tech has the feel. There's no doubt about it. To me, it doesn't have the sound. Um, the the tone of the Pearl Concert Grand is pretty good, but because of what I consider to be the again, I hate to use the word artifacting. Fuck it, I'm just going to call it artifacting, even though we all know that that's not really what it is. It sounds like artifacting. That sound to me ruins what I think is a lovely tone on the piano. The Hans Zimmer piano, you can see it up here. This isn't what this screencast is about, but the Hans Zimmer piano hands down has the sound. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's beautifully sampled, brilliantly sampled, and a ridiculous amount of flexibility on the mic positions, but doesn't have the feel. And in fact, the Pearl Concert Grand has more feel than the Hans Zimmer piano. But anyway, it's not going to displace vintage D for me. When I want the best combination of sound and feel, to me is still vintage D. But in spite of the criticisms that I have had over the tone, for me, piano tech is still my daily practice piano. It's what I play on. It's what I compose with. It's not what I record with, but it just feels right. So anyway, I hope this was useful and maybe gives you a bit of idea of where I'm coming from. Feel free to ask questions, and sorry about my clammy playing.